Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are jumping straight into the pro draft of Game 2. And with Evelyn taken off the board, this game is going to be significantly less scary than the music that was just playing. Lulu looks like she's going to be taken out as well. And I'm excited to see what the adaptations are. We already have seen the Evelyn here, but I expect a playstyle adaptation from 010 too.
Yeah, so do I, D. I think that 010 probably want to diversify in just a little bit, and we can already see here that the Evelyn pickup, or Evelyn pickup in the bands rather, is going to differentiate how they're trying to play out the game, because we see it here that they felt it was a big issue. For me, I didn't think that that was the leading concern. I think if you're going to get rid of a band that was terrorizing you in that game, you want to get rid of the Corki. But either way, that's just how they've opted to go for it. We've opted to get rid of Evelyn as opposed to the Corki, and Lunar targeting the support role here with their bans.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd for me. Maybe trying to keep Scarred Rabble from something that he feels comfortable on, but at the
What
same time, you
Lunar are
don't get rid
banning,
of
right?
Card either. Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. Whew. I had our sides all messed up. There we go. But taking away the Caitlyn as well is going to eliminate a lot of that bottom lane priority, and I think that Karma hover seems to be justified since 010 considering picking it up.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlyn went through the entire of the draft in game one, like didn't get banned, didn't get picked in any capacity. So interesting to see that it's been picked up as a straight ban from Luna here, and that opens up Karma as the openable B1 pick from 010. Eterno looking like he's hovering this Shen here to take into the top side, but Karma, just as a B1 pick, is incredibly strong because he's able to, or the Karma is able to be flexed into four roles if you're feeling confident, and usually just the two nowadays, but you can never be too sure.
Yeah, and I mean, Karma first pick is, I think, not necessarily as strong as it used to be, so I'm not wowed by this draft so far. And at the same time, Omega Gaming Lunar picking up this Shen, I think playing it maybe a little bit safe. I mentioned that I wanted to see Eterno on the Gangplank. I think it is something that he's ridiculously strong on, and on Shen didn't necessarily do it for me, although he wasn't irrelevant by any means. Picking up the Ezreal on the bot side as well, I feel like there's going to be a really non-interactive draft from them, and maybe looking for exactly the same sort of win that they had in game one.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit weird here that the AD carry priority is really just entirely changed from game one to game two, without particularly any reason for it either. Caitlyn getting banned away, Ezreal getting picked when Senna and Ash were still available here. Maybe just that Rapid Fire wanted an Ezreal game, wanted to get himself some priority pick, a little bit of a fun champion for himself. Wants to actually dish out consistent damage as opposed to the Senna, who's more of a hits more heavily over a shorter attack speed period. But actually, this is really interesting from 0-10 here. Taking the Camille into the Shen was banned away in game number one by Luna here. So now the Camille is open and they're going to take it first round.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really good pickup for 010. Is something that their top laner is really good at. We've certainly seen him play it in previous series, and I would be surprised if we don't see a Galio band away as well.
Hey.
You don't necessarily want to be walking into something like the Camille Galio, but with Gangplank grabbed, it looks like Shen could be moving around the map, and this is exactly what I wanted to see.
Exactly, you touched on it in the game one draft that the Shen could flex down to the support role, and 010 have or OGL have dangled the bait and said, "It's the Shen top lane. What are you going to pick into Shen top lane? You're going to pick Camille, right?" And then 010 have nabbed it up. They've gobbled it up and picked into the Camille, and Luna have just gone for the Gangplank. I'm not too sure how the Gangplank Camille matchup is in particular, but it feels like Eterno on the Gangplank must feel incredibly confident in it if he's going for it and opted into it in this first round.
Yeah, when you are picking it into something face up, you expect it to be something that, like you said, he certainly feels like he can find an advantage in. And it's going to be a battle of these top laners micro, because this is also, like we mentioned, a really strong pickup for the top side of 010 here. With the Lilia band away, you got to ban Galio, right? Am I trolling?
I think it's not too important that they ban the Galio, because they've probably got more answers to it. I know that there's a lot of other AD mid laners, things like Lucian as well. can work into a Galio, something that we've seen quite a lot. Also, something that I've seen in Europe a couple of times is just picking Devane into the Galio. I don't think that Galio is a safe blind pick at all, and I think that it's on teams to exploit its counters more so than for teams to get uh, countered for picking it, so to speak.
Yeah, perhaps much more of something like Jin that is powerful situationally, and we see the Vel'Koz band as well. Looks like it's going to be an Azir takeaway, and I wonder if this is exactly what they're going for, because when you do ban something like the Lulu, maybe you're looking for more of an assassin play style, but at the same time taking away Vel'Koz. I'm really not sure what direction Omega Gaming Lunar are taking this game in.
I think we're gonna find out quite quickly with the jungler here. I expect at least saving counter pick for your mid lane is, when Gosha has such a pop off performance, should expect to see that happen because if he gets all the agency from his pick in the mid lane, then I just see no reason for him to not want to pop off again in this game too.
Yeah, and picking up the Zac that's going to be able to enable him in these mid game fights can find a lot of weird angles for engages and potentially grab some advantages for his team, since we're going to have pretty powerful lanes. It looks like Ziggs being picked up for 0-10 is also another pick that is quite strong for them. We saw basically what looked like OP kill switch styling on people with Ziggs 2 weeks ago, and certainly could be looking to do it here as well since the Vel'Koz is eliminated, just going for another long range mage.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggs here pickup is safe in the mid lane. I think that he is one of the or in a rough position where he's up against one of the few junglers that can exploit the Ziggs. Zac, if he's able to use the slingshot into the Ziggs, Ziggs is going to have to be very quick on the satchel charge to get himself to safety, or maybe just immune the slingshot. But this hover here from Gosha, really, if this gets locked in, I'm super happy with the Lunar draft. I think that teams are constantly sleeping on Kassadin as a pick, and I'm so happy now that we get it locked in. Kassadin into Ziggs, it's another Kassadin classic matchup where Kassadin, has a bit of a tough time pre-level 6, but once he reaches 6, the Ziggs is really going to have nothing to say to this Kassadin in terms of answering him. I think we even saw it picked up by Gosha a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I
Into an
think
Ori, but
let me check my little stats sheet here. But yeah, we have seen him play the Kassadin before, and I do believe that it was into an Oriana. He really popped off at that point. But of course, like when is Gosha not? But it really seems like that pick right there brought the entire draft together for me. I was looking for something that, why are you taking away Lulu so early? What about this Lux? Why the Vel'Koz ban? And all of a sudden now with the Kassadin here, totally makes sense. They do want to make sure that he gets through the laning phase, doesn't want to lane against something like that Vel'Koz. And Lulu obviously going to be a real what is it, thorn in the side, not nail in the side of the Kassadin. So being able to grab that one for themselves, I feel like they are still going to be a little bit on the back foot in that level 6 mark. But I think that this is going to be another game of scaling for them, as Eterno on this top side should have quite a strong lane with the Gangplank, and certainly I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
yeah, so am I. I think that this is definitely a game where either team once again can take it because you look across on 0-10 side and they're by no means weak in the scaling department. They've got Camille, they've got Senna, two champions that do go incredibly strongly into the later stages of the game here. I think that Karma as a support is going to probably drop off a little bit relative to the Shen here. Karma
Hmm.
really is going to be one of those laning supports that is going to kind of, you want to gateway your AD carry into a strong mid game, but Senna just isn't that AD carry that I like to fulfill that role, to become the carry at like 2 items or something. Just doesn't do it for me unless the Senna gets incredibly fed, and then you can get the items super quickly. But for me, it's just not quite the same as if you pick something like even a Draven or a Phelios or something of that cadence, or a Caitlyn to do that damage in the mid game.
Yeah, especially when the enemy team is picking up something like a Shen. Granted, of course, the Karma is going to be first rounded, but you want to pick something that is going to be benefiting from that, because Shen's certainly going to be leaving lane around that level 6 mark. They've drafted themselves the Ezreal. They don't want to push too far into you. This isn't a bottom lane from Omega Gaming Lunar. They're going to be looking to kill you. It's not Draven Leona. This is they're going to be sitting far back. They're going to be making sure that we get a lot of farm onto Rapid Fire, who can form later in the game, and seeing that be answered by 0-10 is going to be something that we're looking for, if not in the draft, at least in playstyle.
Yeah, definitely. It's excuse me, there. It's a playstyle that we need to see them adopt. And in game number one, we saw them go incredibly hard in the early game, pick up 3 dragons for themselves, but it just wasn't quite enough for them to snowball it too far out of control for Luna to not be able to come back from. We need to see now in this game number two if they're able to use this sort of early presence that they've got with the Trundle and the Camille on the top side of the map to make things happen before this Kassadin becomes a monster, before the Gangplank becomes a monster, because I feel like the clock is ticking. And even though I talked about the scaling presence of a Senna, I think that if you talking about how is a Camille or Kassadin rather going to do into the Senna's going to have no chance.
Yeah, and importantly, this game actually, just because you were touching on the scaling, the difference that I see hugely in OGL's draft between here and game one is also the fact that they don't have any sort of mixed priorities. This isn't something where we saw an Evelyn who really wants to pick up so that they can become relevant in that mid game. I think that this draft almost forfeits a mid game. Assuming that 0-10 are able to pick up, find some advantages, the OGL willing to sit on the back foot with this composition and wait until the later stages of the game. Whereas 0-10, it feels like do or are the ones who need to be jumping in, using that Camille, using the Ziggs to create pressure on the map, and especially take towers to find themselves a gold advantage so that they can run over, because they are going to get completely outscaled at this point, and OGL really have nothing in the early game they need to have succeed.
No, exactly. Again, the presence needs to, or the presence of mind needs to be in O10's favor, that they need to be aware of how they need to win this game. If the game scales into 20, 30 minutes, it's already over for them. And if they get to that stage and they're even, then they're so far behind. And I use that sense in a literal sense that they can be even gold, but just because of the champions that have been drafted, with the gold in the pockets, Kassadin's going to do more than a Ziggs in a team fight. Senna versus Ezreal, probably fairly even here because they do have a lot of backline access into this Ezreal. But Zac is a really strong tank, going to cause a lot more disruption than a Trundle is. And yes, the Trundle can take away the tank stats, and I'm going to be looking to Agony to see can he interrupt elastic slingshots, because that is really going to be his sole purpose on this Trundle. Trying to engage against this team is going to be so difficult with Trundle Pillar. Kassadin Rift walks over, Ezreal Arcane shifts over, Gangplank maybe you can catch out, but Shen also with the taunt. The only time you should really be throwing the pillar up is to stop Zac engages.
I'm totally right there with you. They need to be on a high alert for this Zac, because OGN this time is going to be completely free to throw himself in, is not going to die instantly. And my eyes are also on OP Kill Switch. We saw him be super, I'll call it hyper relevant in the early stages of game one when he was walking around the map and making things happen on that Galio. Ziggs, not exactly the same play style. And I'm wondering if that Vel'Koz ban, if this sort of long range style mage is something that is going to be super justified in this game, because I want to see him be able to pop off and maybe even rival Gosha as we approach the mid game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the early game was something that we saw thrive for them in game number one, and hopefully they can make it work again in this game too.
Yeah, this is a totally different game, ladies and gentlemen. 10 Death Power Spike against Omega Gaming Lunar as we approach our second game of the night. Can Omega Gaming Lunar take it home, or will 10 Death Power Spike take us to a third game? We'll find out as soon as we get back from this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game 2 of the night. This is going to be Omega Gaming Lunar versus 010 Power Spike. Omega Gaming Lunar going to be popping up from the top side of the map here. We finally get to see Etherno's Gangplank and Gosha on this Kassadin looking to be a monster. In the same way, OP Kill Switch giving us a slightly different look on this Ziggs, and I'm excited to see how this mid lane goes.
Yeah, so if he looks to do something similar to how he played in game number one, obviously his roams aren't going to be as impactful as the Galio's is going to be, but he can definitely apply a lot more pressure in the early game versus this Kassadin. Not going to be able to, or not going to have the Rift Walk available to him, and hopefully we'll be able to poke out the Kassadin, make it so that these pre-level 6 levels are going to be tremendously difficult for Gosha, and maybe we even see Agony gank the mid lane with the pillar, because you know, as we talk about Kassadin pre-level 6, incredibly weak. Try and punish that as much as possible to try and allow for a delayed scaling process from the Kassadin.
Yeah, I would certainly like to see Agony at least pay attention to the mid lane before Gosha hits that level 6 because of the ability to empower Ziggs, especially to start taking those turrets, because it's something that's really undervalued about Ziggs, that he can start accumulating gold for your team rather quickly when he is unlocked in that mid lane and can start roaming around the map and just chunking turrets out. And similarly, though, I think I'd like to see a little bit of attention top lane because Router is somebody on the Camille that can really, really pop off. And having a Camille in your side lane going crazy is something that can quickly turn into a win condition.
Definitely, you know, Camille is a tremendous late game split push champion, even versus the Gangplank should be able to find advantages in the late game. You know, despite Gangplank's insane scaling, the scaling comes from his ability to team fight more so than it does his ability to split push. He is going to be able to clear waves pretty quickly, but 4 or 5 item Camille can just ignore turrets with the amount of lifesteal that she does build up and just the sheer damage that she has as well.
Yeah, and I think at that point we probably see something like Gosha rotating into the side lane, and in the meantime, it's going to be like we mentioned in Champion Select. It's going to be the onus on 010 Power Spike to find these early things to get their laners going. The faster that you can make Router a monster, the faster that you can get OP kill switches items, because really there's not a lot of autonomy that we've drafted here for the side of Omega Gaming Lunar.
No, I mean that they have some small avenues to make things happen. Obviously, OGN on the Zac is going to be able to make things happen, but Agony going to be ganking top here.
Yeah, this is a really smart move from him. Etherno walking pretty far up there is just going to burn the flash and get away. Gets a grasp stack on the back end, but this is an easy gank that was quite easily punished by Agony. Just being able to walk in, throw up the pillar, get something for nothing there, and now Etherno having to play a little bit more careful into a matchup that he believes is advantageous.
Yeah, and it's something that, you know, top laners really since for seasons and seasons have been remembering. You know, the minute 3 gank, get yourself a ward down to protect yourself against it, and Etherno here not respecting it, not able to get himself away, does have to force his flash. And, you know, sitting a little bit down in CS, obviously has a big wave under his turret that he's going to pick up right now. But with that being shoved in, Router able to go back, pick up a pretty much essentially free recall, gets himself a longsword, rejuvenation bead, getting the components here of that Tiamat very early on.
Is this the cheater recall of Legend? Is this Router showing it to us in this game? It looks like it, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I like to think so. I think he probably didn't get it flawlessly executed. I think he's going to miss maybe 1 or 2 minions due to the next minion wave coming in. But yeah, you know, it's something like that that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That with the extra longsword, his trading power is going to be even greater and going to be able to punish the Gangplank even more so, because if you look at the items that the Gangplank has, he effectively has a corrupting potion for trading power, which gives you nothing other than small tick damages when applied.
Yeah, and having this rejuve beat is going to be really important for the parlay damage as well. Gangplank certainly one of those potential lane bullies into melee matchups that can just start stacking up the grasp stacks, and now the wave potentially going to be frozen on him as well is putting him in a dangerous spot. Even though Trundle's nowhere near, he has to start being really careful.
Yeah, if Eno wants to just get this wave crashed in and set himself up for a recall himself, because you know he's at an item disadvantage right now, he just wants to get himself back, and he's going to push this wave in, hopefully look to reset, and looks like he's going to be able to get it off here. Router is probably going to be up on CS, and just, you know, small macro things up on the top side. creating and generating advantages for either top laner. Looks like they're both going to play it out pretty well, get themselves the recalls, get themselves the backs as they wish, and going to be pretty even on the top side. The Sheen coming through for Inferno probably gives him the advantage in this lane early on.
Yeah, and nice moves from both of them, honestly. I do think that Router has a little bit of an advantage, at least in the sort of ability that he has early on. Now that the flash is down, has a little bit more autonomy in this lane. But like you mentioned, Eterno really being able to manipulate the top wave to his advantage has been able to bring that back with the Sheen. And I feel like this, as much as I'm focusing on mid lane as we do ding that level 6, top lane has actually been a pretty big brain lane to be visiting.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the top lane quite a lot because it is probably the highest variance role in terms of how well you can be executing here on the top side, because we look at bot lane, it's just going to be Ezreal farming up. He doesn't really want to engage too much versus Karma Senna. Similarly in the mid lane, Kassadin just wants to farm up, get his levels versus the Ziggs, and we talked about the power that Agony has pre-level 6 to maybe gank the Kassadin. Goshi's just got to level 6 completely unscathed, so for me, OGL are in an incredibly strong position here. We talked about how the burden of execution was on 0-10 to get themselves a lead in the early game, and they haven't managed to do that yet.
Yeah, and to me as an early game composition, I give you until, let's say, the 15 to 20 minute mark, but really once you pass that level 6, it becomes so much harder for you, as now they're looking in the bot lane. OGL feel like they're powerful enough to take a fight. The teleport in behind them, can they get out in time? As well, Ziggs and Kassadin looking to join into the fray, but it will just be safety teleports there as both mid laners show up and realize that they don't actually need to be there.
Yeah, and important here that Ghosh is actually able to teleport before he gets his reset off. So he's going to reset now, go back to base, get a huge recall in, catalyst boots, some consumables for himself as well. And he also managed to get the wave quite close to Killswitch's turret. So Killswitch, off of a recall, walking back toward mid lane, missed a load of XP from the reset. Didn't get to his wave while he was TPing, so missed XP from the wave under the turret. And doesn't get himself anything from the bot side. Looking at it right now, Ghosh is level 7 and OP Killswitch just dinged level 7 for himself, whilst Ghosh has got himself a big wave under the turret as well. And Inferno's winning this fight. Hookshot missed.
Ooh, yeah, Router misses the jump as well, so could go quite low. Nice dodge
3 people
out
on this
there
top side.
from Eterno. Yeah, we see OP Killswitch, though, walking up, and this is not something you necessarily expect as Eterno. You got to be really careful now. Has the flash again finally, but I don't think he'll be able to use it to really any effect, as Agony's committed himself up here. And it will be the first blood going over to this Trundle off of what looked like a bad fight for Router, turning into an overextension. In the bot side, though, Drago.
Yeah, it looks like the Dragon's going to go down, but they have to be careful here because it looked as though O10 were going to try and commit to the turret on the top side. And whilst you usually think that, oh yeah, you can't really get a turret that off of one kill, you can maybe get a plate or something. We have to remember the power of Ziggs here. Killswitch with the use of a Herald as well. One good Herald in combination with a Ziggs can just net a turret from full HP. You don't have to use the Herald to its complete effectiveness, because at level 1 I believe the Ziggs Satchel 25% execution range, so just a little over a plate and essentially 250 HP on one of these tier 1 turrets, and you're able to explode a turret just outright. Something like this is something that we need to be careful of, because with a Herald and a Ziggs in the same game, objectives fall like flies.
Yeah, we really do, and it is maybe a little bit of a mystery to me, just because we have seen OP Killswitch actually leaving lane quite a bit, hasn't been playing for the lane kingdom, and has instead fallen down 17 CS, hasn't gotten a single plate to his name yet, and it doesn't feel like they're maybe using the Ziggs to the lane kingdom effectiveness that he can be, trying to instead use him as a little bit of a map enabler.
Yeah, and it's something that we saw last time Gosha was on the Kassadin. In no matter what sort of lane he's in, always generates himself a CS lead. Did it on the Cork, he did it a couple weeks ago on the Kassadin in a rough lane versus the Ori. Even though they were trying to punish this Kassadin pick, he was just picking up all of the farm regardless, and he's just scaling up quite quietly, quite calmly at the minute. Doesn't yet have the Rod of Ages, but will soon be available to him, you know, with 10 CS. Oh, what a fight bot lane.
Yeah, fighting the top side. Nice ultimate from the Gangplank to cut off the escape there. Taunt will catch up Strawberry Paladin as they know that Ashton's in the bag. They will end up being able to grab him here. Heal not going to do quite enough, and OGN ends up grabbing that one. Eternal on the top side, forced to flash away. Gets double flash in response here, and Rift Herald is available. They could look to take this top lane turret.
Yeah, they're going to need to push the wave in and then probably push another wave before they're able to do so, and by that point Eterno will respawn, but they definitely have the time to go for it, and this could be a dive bot.
Yeah, are they diving Strawberry Paladin here? OGN doesn't connect with anything, but Scarred Rabble manages to get the taunt here, and still no passive proc from the Zac here does mean that he's willing to tank that turret for as long as it takes. Nice bomb, though! Will manage to pick him up as easy as you like. I think that might be the easiest bomb we've ever seen.
Hey, I like it though, the Ziggs counter pick into the Zac. Not an interaction that I've seen all too often, but hey, that's definitely a new one on me. And important to note that on the top side, 0-10 do get themselves the entire top lane turret, as well as all of the plates on it as well. So big gold lead, or big gold differential going to be happening up on this top side. And just toggle the gold real quick here. The Camille pretty much 1,000 gold up on the Gangplank. Similarly, a 500 gold lead in the jungle as well. And pretty much everywhere looking good for 0-10 in this start. And you talked about them generating an early game advantage pre-15 minutes, and they're getting the makings of it here. Only 600 gold to the good in total, just because of the bot lane kill that went their way, went the way of Lunar rather. But they're making strides in the right direction.
They certainly are, and I wouldn't call anybody online yet when we're talking about things like the Cassidon and the Gangplank. And so around this Infernal Dragon that's coming up in just a minute 15, I think that you can look to make that advantage a reality, perhaps.
Yeah, I think if you've generated yourself these small advantages, the Infernal Dragon is the part where you start to really punish the weakness of these early game champions. And I have to slightly disagree that I feel like Rod of Ages Cassidon, definitely going to be near level 11 as well, is going to be in a very strong position to just take over in a team fight even this early. I think that Gosha has shown his ability on the champion and his proficiency with it, that he could definitely take over for me. And we've seen it time and time again that he can play this champion. And if he does get to level 11 before the Infernal Drake spawns, the Rift Walk cooldown reduction is going to be so useful in the team fights, Gangplank hasn't finished the Trinity Force yet, so that is something to note, that Eterno is still just a little bit weak without the completed passive coming through. But similarly, neither is Router, so 50-50, go, swings and roundabouts here.
Yeah, Router maybe a little bit closer. I believe you said that there was a 1k gold advantage at the top side, if I remember correctly. We could be looking for OP kill switch, though. Still does have the flash to potentially get away. Let's bounce going to be used. OGN looking for a little bit of revenge on that cheeky kill in the bot side, but won't actually end up burning anything. Just his own ultimate as they look for the Ziggs there. Power of the long range mage, being able to get onto your turret very quickly.
Yeah,
and rapid fire in this bot side, picking up turrets.
A little bit of a chunk down in early on Ashton. He just dodges away from the taunt, gets himself back to his turret, but looked a little bit too aggressive for my liking there. Important to see here, Eterno's actually down on the bot side around this dragon, whilst Router's still just farming on the top side of the map. So this looks like the Infernal Dragon probably just going to go heavily over to Lunar with very little to be said here.
Yeah, and this is still maybe not in the way that we want to see it, but I think it's still them looking for an advantage. It is still 0-10 trying to say, okay, the advantage that we have isn't going to come in the form of a team fight victory. It's going to come in the form of our Camille getting further ahead of your Gangplank and being able to pressure this side lane. And that's something that they're going to have, I want to say, even a harder time executing on potentially, because unless your Camille can outlane a Cassidon who's going to be continuing to scale and really a monster in this side lane, I don't know if that's exactly the investment in that advantage that you want to be making.
Definitely not. I'm right there with you that this is definitely not what I want to see from 0-10 in this game. I think that giving all of these resources over to Lunar is going to give so many advantages over that were just unnecessary. You talk about giving Camille the advantages. Maybe get the Camille into the team fight and then just win a team fight with your stronger top side. That's how you should be playing this out. because you get outscaled. You don't want to be giving over these dragons. You want to be forcing, like you were in game number 1, being in a position to, at that 3 Drake mark, force Lunar into a fight, whether they've scaled or not. And we talked about how the fact that Lunar are going to outscale and O10 had to make things happen before that had happened. We're 15 minutes into the game. Gold is even, and Luna had 2 dragons to the positive. I think this game right now is so Luna favoured that 0-10 have kind of just sat back and essentially lost the game by not doing anything.
Can we check the top side real quick as well? Actually, speaking of that, there we go. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I didn't know what you wanted, but yes, that is everything on the top side.
No, I mean, look at this. Gangplank's being starved of farm as well, so they're really investing into Router here. The fact that he's just frozen here now that the dragon is completely gone, there's really not an objective for them to take, and they really are looking to Router to be this carry. I think is what that tells me.
Yeah, and this is a wise freeze here because there's nothing to be gained on the map for our roaming router around. This is going to reduce the amount of input or income that Eterna receives. It's going to reduce the experience as well. So this is them playing to their Camille, and you talk about a split push. This isn't the generic split push that we usually see, but this is definitely an impressive display of how to generate advantages from Router here.
Yeah, and at least for now, even if, like we were just talking about before we had to pan up there, it is going to be what we might think is a little bit suboptimal. Putting all your eggs in that basket, at least they're doing it effectively. And certainly is something that, we haven't seen Router on a carry yet. We saw him on the Ornn last game. Maybe this is something that he's just going to outstyle Gosha, be able to lock him down, and that ability can be really valuable with the Hextech Ultimatum into the Kassadin. And so there's certainly a world where this does really start to pay off, where they can lock Kassadin in, Ziggs bomb him, and really just give him no way to outplay and really take over that team fight.
No, definitely not. I think that hopefully this is actually a really good switch from Luna, but not going to be executed perfectly as they fight top.
Yeah, there's the ultimate, gets the flash out from Rapid Fire as well, but they are going to easily take him down as Agony is here to take down Scarred Rabble along with them. We see OP Kill Switch trying to get on the kill, but they really don't manage to bag that one. Gosha now trying to get away, should be able to Rift Walk straight out of here. Will actually be caught by Ashton though, and has to be a little bit careful. Fortunately, no ultimate available for Kill Switch, will mean that he's safe.
Oh, Luna, no.
I know, I see it too.
So the play was right. They just executed it really poorly. They will move their bot lane up to the top side to prevent the freeze, or to break the freeze happening from Router, but they move just their Rapid Fire and Rabble up to the top side and don't give them any support. OGN wasn't near enough by, Gosha wasn't there either, and the Cannon Barrage, yes, if they're no TP'd up, but it was all too little too late. They basically send Shen and Ezreal to the Wolves, and the collapse comes in. The top side here, or the top 2v2 that we saw, Camille versus Trundle, definitely beats Ezreal and the Shen. And with the swap coming through, just the levels alone, there's a 4-level discrepancy between those two, as well as the fact that Camille had Trinity Force, Ezreal was sitting on Man Immune Sheen, which is, to all intents and purposes, a good Ezreal spike, but versus a Camille and a Trundle with ultimate isn't enough by any means. And when you don't have the support of OGN, don't have the support of Gosha, those things are just not going your way.
Yeah, and we see off of that play that looks like they're feeling more and more powerful here. Camille has joined in, and as much as we thought we would see this earlier, it looks like we're going to be seeing the play for the strength around 0-10 coming in now as Camille jumps straight in. There's a beautiful Ziggs ultimate to follow it up, and they can't kill Agony just yet. Scarred Rabble should be going down. OGN trying to play the backline disruption that he knows he was born for, but can't actually find anything. Looks like Router looking for more potentially, but they know they've won this fight and will just back up onto this Ocean Drake.
Yeah, Rapid Fire stepping way too far forward there, gets himself picked off, gets caught out by just a Trundle pillar really. He gets super close to the brush, not respecting the control ward in there, and a Trundle just pops out, says hello, and gets the free kill onto him, gets a kill on Rabble as well. And now the dragon going in their favour. Just a couple of slip-ups here from Luna, costing them their foothold in this game. 3k down now, and signs of life here for 10 Death Power Spike.
Yeah, certainly. And the investment in that Camille paying off a little bit there, as we saw Camille be able to follow up with the Trundle straight onto onto the rapid fire that you talked about, rapid fire, um, and really able to lock him down with the Hextech ultimatum. There's no real way out there. Zig's ultimate comes in to separate the team, and that beautiful choke, and 0-10 find their fight, even if it is, let's say, 5 minutes late.
Yeah, they do. It's just painful to see, given that these plays weren't for me aren't 0-10 winning. It's more Lunar losing, and I really
Mhm.
I want to give credit to 0-10 definitely, because they're punishing the mistakes from Lunar. It's you know that they're capitalizing on these errors, and you know a worse team would just let the mistakes happen and not capitalize and not get the advantages. So definitely props to 10 Death Power Spike here, because they're playing out how they should do when the mistakes are being made in front of them. But Luna here really these couple missteps are becoming more and more important. The later the game goes, the smaller the mistake has to be before it alters the game drastically.
Yeah, certainly. Then just via death timers as well. We can tell in League of Legends via that sort of measure that mistakes do become, like you say, more and more important as the game goes on, and really can start to snowball. So we have to see Omega Gaming Lunar really step up and make sure that they're not making these small slip ups that could start costing them key fights, just like we saw them on the opposite side of that taking away from 0-10 last game.
Exactly, you know they managing to get their Drakes going, and Rout are going in here.
Yeah, he is trying to find some damage on Discard Rabble, but fortunately he is the real tanky member, if you're not talking about OGN here, who has picked himself up the Gargoyle Stoneplate, which I think is a really interesting second item for Zach. It's just, I feel like, really itemizing into this, I'm going to buy time for my team, and everything else doesn't matter.
Exactly, and he's hoping to be diving with his team right here. I like the sort of draft style from Luna in general. You know, if you just look across the board, they have 3 or 4 dive champions, and then an Ezreal as an AD carry who, for to all intents and purposes, probably the safest AD carry that you can think to draft for yourself, because he sits in the backline, has shift to get himself out from danger, and he can just sit back, pump out slows with his Frozen Fist, and then let 4 melee champions jump in onto 0-10 and do the damages that need to be done.
Yeah, and I like his itemization as well, because router diving him is going to be such a potential problem. Him being able to go into this Iceborne Gauntlet, potentially even find himself a Death's Dance later, is going to be giving him a lot of survivability that we see the potential. They won't just be able to burst out the AD carry, and he will become sort of a pseudo tank into things like router and even OP kill switch, trying to find him with the ultimate.
Well, yeah, that is an option, but I also want to quickly just remind everybody at home that Camille's second Q does true damage. That you can be as tanky as you like, but Camille scales regardless of how much armor, how much health, how much anything you build. If you're low HP and near this Camille, the true damage is going to kill you.
Yeah, and looks like Router trying to kill Therno from maybe a little bit higher health there, as he's still on the back foot in this side lane, sitting at that 0-2 and down 30 CS right now, is going to be very much dictated to, and until we can feel like Gosha has the ability to side lane into the Camille, we're still going to see her really be able to put her presence out over the map.
Definitely, this Kassadin's still not quite strong enough to match the Camille. At least Luna believe that to be the case anyway, and they're quite happy keeping Gosha off in a side lane up on the top side. Maybe just sending waves in and out against OP kill switch. Looks like with 30 seconds left on this dragon, Rabble caught. He's going to get himself out to safety, but rapid fire though.
Oh yeah, the thing they do know from Scarred Rabble being there is that he's nowhere near rapid fire. But I think that as much as they don't find anything there, the fact that Router can just jump straight into Scarred Rabble in his own jungle says a lot about the state of the game, according to 0-10.
Definitely, and I think there's just a little bit of hesitance there from Router there. I think that there was definitely an opportunity to go for it. Yes, they have Stand United, but I want to see more aggression out of this Camille like this.
Yeah, he's completely ignoring the fact that Eterno has any value in his own life. Could look for the hook shot here, but instead will just be able to walk away is Eterno. In the meantime, 0-10 securing themselves the second Drake of the game. Still no contest coming out as Gosha's farming up in this top side, and This is a little bit of a question mark from me. I feel like I still feel like OGL can be contesting these.
Um, I think that just the tempo that O10 have got is really dissuading Lunar at the minute. They just feel super uncomfortable trying to force any fight here, just based off of the Camille in general, basically, because the Camille is just so strong in this game. You know, with albeit not the most CS in his team, but just with 2 completed items essentially. He's waiting on the recall to complete either the Death Dance, presumably, or maybe upgraded Titanic, but Router getting caught.
Hey, here we're looking for the play here. Router does end up burning the flash. Scarred Rabble is here on the side. We'll find the taunt that interrupts the hook shot and shut down from Eterno there. Will get him a nice injection of gold onto that Camille, and suddenly it feels like a breath of fresh air was let into the lungs of OGL.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see them use this opportunity to just get farm back onto Eterno here, because for the longest time, ever since we saw that freeze established on the top side of the map, he's been 2 levels down in this lane, and albeit he survived the attempted all-in from Router whilst they were taking the dragon, but he's still not in a position to match the Camille in the side lane by any means. It needs to be now or never, where they sort of generate a couple of advantages for themselves, get themselves right back in, and now start setting up to start picking up these Ocean Drakes here.
Yeah, and he does manage to push a few waves in the bot side as well, so closing that gap just a little bit, has found himself at the 185 CS mark, and so, you know, getting a little bit closer to that Camille. I don't think it's made up for just yet, but we also see him moving towards that Death's Dance, something that maybe I'm not familiar too much with Gangplank itemization, but is a little bit of an odd second item to come out from him.
Yeah, so I think that the GP second is something. Oh, GP second. Death Dance second is something that GPs definitely can go for. I know that one of the junglers here, Sir Malcolm's very confident with GP building Death Dance's second item. As a second item in particular, what we see sort of standardly is going to be Essence Reaver coming out, and then Liandry's actually as the third item. And I'm really glad that actually Spectate Cam actually just highlighted that on the top side, that Gosha has now reached level 16 on Kassadin. With absolutely 0 repercussions, 0 attempts on his life essentially. Level 16 Kassadin has been reached here, and really if Lunar aren't looking to teamfight at this stage, then I'm not too sure when they are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he is sitting at 0-0-0 with the most farm in the game at this point. Router looking to punish Eterno here, might actually just be able to kill him straight up. We'll have the second proc of that Q available, does find the stun, and this should be Eterno going down here, finds a shield for himself as...
Stand United.
Oh my lord! I was looking, where is Gangplank getting a shield from? I forgot we had a support Shen in this game. Won't even be hit by the Senna ultimate at the end there, and manages to actually get that kill in the what ended up being a 2v1 there. Scarred Rabble ultimate coming in clutch.
Yeah, Eterno showing his dominance on this Gangplank here, the proficiency on this champion that he has, actually paying off in spades here. The fact that he's able to survive the 1v1 for so long. He didn't even have Death Dance in that situation, by the way, so just picked it up for himself, versus what was Death Dance, what was Tiamat, and Trinity Force, all at the same time. How he didn't die there and how he managed to just kite out the Camille whilst still inside the Hextech Ultimatum is baffling to me. He built enough time up for the bait to come in, and then for Rabble to use the Stand United shield pretty much flawlessly to keep himself safe.
Yeah, as soon as that hook shot was channeled and Camille now had no escape, it was really game over as they pulled the trigger with Scarred Rabble and were able to pick up a kill for themselves. But it just very quickly going back to what we were talking about, you know, we're sitting at 0-0 on Kassadin, most farm in the game, has 3 completed items at this point. You've got to be thinking that at this point, Omega Gaming Lunar have about 45 seconds till they start popping off.
Yeah, the dragon spawning with that, the end of that time that you said right there, that with all with all due respect, if Lunar don't fight for this Drake, then they're trolling. They need to start stepping up, going for this dragon, and I like to see that OGN and Eterno are walking up, clearing out vision. You know, the full squadron here, trying to establish vision control around this ocean dragon about to spawn.
Yeah, you don't want to leave this dragon with just 4 members contesting it. This is something that, if you're going to make this team fight happen now, if you want this to be the turning point of the game, you're going to want 5 members here. Looks like OGN looking for a jump here. Could find it. He knows where the members are, but doesn't want to dive too far into a jungle they don't have too much more vision of. And now it's going to be positioning around the Drake. This is still technically a 50-50. Agony does have the flash, so they do want to play this a little bit careful. Rapid Fire doesn't have the Death's Dance yet either, so won't be nearly as safe. And when does the trigger get pulled for Omega Lunar? Because OGN is their go button. Looks like Rapid Fire trying to find out Router on the side there. They are turning onto the flank, but Gosha needing to find a way into this backline as well. Does have the flank here. Watch him as he jumps in. OGN starts the fight, and Gosha follows it up. They almost delete Ashton off the face of the map. Scarred Rebel is in there and buying space for Rapid Fire, but it is the Gosha show as he jumps forward onto the support, finds himself double kill and a triple kill to come in for him. Can he survive Router as they manage to all jump forward onto him? Nice Zanya's will buy him a little bit of time, and he should be able to get away from these Raptors. But that is easily a 4-0 in favor of OGL. They get the Dragon for themselves, and Gosha picks up 3 kills.
Yeah, and there we go. As I alluded to, if they don't fight for that Drake, they're trolling, and that's exactly why. They take the fight, they win the fight. It's really just a Kassadin difference at this stage of the game that 0-10 let this Kassadin scale up to the point. We're at 30 minutes in the game right now, and you know the shot calling for Lunar here. This is leaving a lot to be desired from me, at least, that they get 4 kills on the map and they don't turn to the Baron at 30 minutes. You know, they get the Ocean Dragon fine, but there were still sort of 5-10 seconds on the respawn timers. And OGN does Gromp. He's now doing the Wolves as well. These aren't valuable objectives right here. Please just reset, get yourself priority on the Baron, because you've just seen how much difficulty 0-10 have trying to fight you off of an objective. Just get to another objective, force another fight, and you just win the game.
Yeah, maybe a little bit shaky on the shot calling there. As we saw that in the mid game a little bit as well. They did start to lose out around the map, and maybe that's showing its face here as Baron is the next objective, as you highlighted. Now with Gosha being involved in some kills, I feel like this should be a little bit easier for them to start poking their heads in, and maybe 0-10 will start paying a little bit more respect, even to the members that seem like they're going to be caught out.
Yeah, I really hope so, that Lunar starts stepping up towards these objectives, because the way that they're going about it right now, there was no world where Strawberry Paladin should ever be able to walk up and put a control ward down in the Baron pit. The fact that it's still there is baffling. The OGL just need to walk in, take control of this Baron pit, and just start whacking on it, because they are so incredibly strong, and they need to properly do their due diligence with the vision clearing, because you know OGN's backing on a ward right now. The desynced recalls as well, something that teams need to have on lock, and the lack of synergy with respect to picking up those recalls is something that as we get later and later into potentially the playoffs of Riz and things like that, they need to start tightening up on, because these are mistakes that, albeit aren't going to probably cost them the game, but are definitely going to cost them their ability to display the dominance that they've got.
Yeah, and better teams will punish it as well. Rapid Fire maybe being punished for overextending, and there's OGN. I wonder if we can find, as we move into this next team fight, an engage as beautiful as the one that they had around the Dragon there. Looks like Gosha might be a little bit caught out, though. Can't necessarily escape. Uses the Zanyas to buy time, and here's the engage from OGN. He wants to fight with Gosha. Unfortunately, Gosha jumping out there might actually get caught by Router, but manages to rift-walk over the wall and has survived long enough to buy his team the space to arrive. Router trying to find him again will just be punished for his sins. OGN finds his way out. Scarred Rebel is burning down, but will be able to find himself a shield. Gosha jumps forward, and they are just playing cleanup at this point. They are jump onto the Baron. That is the nearest objective, the nearest thing that Gosha can kill, and that is a nice and concise team fight for OGL. There's no way that Router can kill Gosha at this point when he does have that stasis up.
No, and that was pretty much the perfect engage here. Gosha just going to go hunting onto Ashton. He is just going to fall here. There's no way Ashton survives. He's just going to kill Agony here as well.
Yeah, this is the 5-0 and 2 Kassadin at 34 minutes into the game. Has himself the Baron buff now as well, and it feels like Omega Gaming Lunar are going to have to turn at least one of their monitors off to lose this.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only way it's going to go, and it needs to be Gosha's at this rate, because as I was saying, that was pretty much the perfect engage for 0-10, because they find Kassadin on his own, they get him caught in the Hextech ultimatum, and they're still unable to kill him. and it comes
That's the
down
dream
to
scenario.
it comes down to the fact he has Seraph's Embrace, has Shen to stand united on top of him, and has the Zhonya's Hourglass as well. So, all of these defensive items, all of these defensive pairings as well, coming through make it really difficult to kill the Kassadin. But that just means that you have to layer CC, and you look over on 010 Esports side. I keep saying 010 Esports. No. You look across on their side. Where's the CC? You're trying to layer a hook shot on top of a satchel charge and kill a Kassadin in that window. That's just not foreseeable, really.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like a what's that called? A pipe dream?
Yeah.
I think it is a pipe dream. Yeah, as it looks. Oh
Oh
god,
no.
Ghost, he's just gone. Ghost is not anywhere near that. They just kill him straight up. The teleport is channeled into the bot side, and we see the Senna ultimate come through, but will it be enough? Router trying to find rapid fire here, but he's right next to three members who can all save him. Locket coming in really clutch, as there's the Shen ultimate straight on top of the AD carry. Will save him for even
Comes
longer
Gosha.
there. There's Gosha. He's showing up to finish off this team fight, potentially finish off the game. Finds himself a double kill. The ace is finished off by none other than the man himself. And if they're no dancing under the tower, I think much like we saw Router jumping in earlier in that game into the jungle, completely blind, said a lot about the state of the game. I think that Little Dance Under the Tower also saying a lot about the state of the game.
I think it says a lot about the game, says a lot about the series as well. Respawn's coming through for Ashton and Strawberry Paladin, but the respawn times for Router and Agony are so much longer. Gosha can just dive under these turrets here. The Karma really doesn't do too much to protect against a big late game Kassadin like this.
I'm actually so scared. He might be able to find more kills before the end of the game. Is going to look for Ashton here. Rift walks forward, is exhausted, but still manages to take down Ashton. Can he do it before the timer ends? He ends up opting for the Karma instead, and that is going to be the game 2 finished up here as we see OGL walk away with a clean 2-0 victory.
Yeah, so that is, we were coming into the series here thinking that we'd definitely be in for a couple of close games, and for me it was, the kill score and things like that really don't tell the series. Really don't tell the story of the series all that well for me because this game and as well as last game, 0-10 could definitely have won both of these games. A little bit
Mhm.
tighter execution, maybe a bit more persistence, a bit more aggressiveness in their shot calling. They can definitely win, take games off of Lunar, but they just weren't quite there when it comes to the killer instinct, we'll say. Gosha having two massive pop-off performances, Corki and Kastin going perfect this week in his KDAs, really showing up this week.
Yeah, and honestly, when we talk about these teams, because we are fighting for what is going to be defining the top teams, at least in the Risen pre-made Unstoppable, and certainly both of these teams look like they are top because you look at 0-10 and you see why they've walked away with uh, a really similar game score or a really similar series score, and it's because of this early mid game where they're able to create so much advantage for themselves. The gap between them and OGL at say around the 15-20 minute mark is honestly really, really impressive. They often are able to find those advantages to the point where we feel like they should be able to close it out. And it's OGL outlasting in 2 games, taking the gamble with things like the Corky, things like the Kassadin that will bring them back in and almost be able to take over the game that really pays off for them. And it's a matter of, can you close out? Because they're certainly good enough to find those advantages. And I feel like OGL maybe losing on that front a bit.
Yeah, I think that this series, if nothing else, has definitely highlighted some weaknesses that OGL have. Yes, they come away 2-0 victorious, but there's a lot for them to learn here. And I think if you want to go all the way in Risen, that you need to be on the top of your game. And being able to learn from this series is something that I'm really looking to for Lunar as we keep going in this pre-made unstoppable tournament.
Yeah, this is something that we're going to be looking to improve, but we've seen some great games from them tonight, all things considered. I mean, you mentioned it before, perfect scorelines on Gosha, absolutely popped off this series, and can't say enough good things about the way that we wrapped up tonight. This has been week 7 of the pre-made Unstoppable. Next week would normally be a bye week, but we'll be making up our games against Gusty. How let's see, where are they? They're somewhere in here. But we'll certainly be bringing you guys some games next week to find out if we can jump from that 5-1 to the 6-1 and really make it all the way as we jump into the Risen Unstoppable here. We will see you guys on that fated weekend day. Thank you so much for joining us, and GG's.